So hello everyone and welcome back to my latest video. Just a little warning, I'm feeling a little bit unwell today. Doesn't seem to be unusual at the moment, but that might explain why my voice might sound a little bit strange. But update 1.1 came out today and the update's gone through live to Portal, and I thought I'd pop in and have a quick look. And wow, there's been some brilliant changes changed here, and I just couldn't let this go by without having a quick run through and have a little look at the changes with everyone. So if you just stick by, this isn't going to be an in-depth review or anything like that. This is going to be a very quick kind of run through and a few initial thoughts on the changes to the Portal editor. As always, if you get anything from this video, please click the subscribe button and the like button. They really do help me with the YouTube algorithm. And today I'd really welcome your thoughts on this update. What do you think of the changes that they've made? Do you like the things that they've added to Portal? Can you see you using them? I think that I can, but I'd really like to hear your thoughts. Okay, let's crack on and have a look at the changes that have come to Portal in version 1.1. So here we are in the Portal editor, and straight away you're going to see that there are new modes added to the custom tab, and here you're going to see they've added air superiority and ground superiority. Now this is really very good. Over many months I've had people asking me whether these types of modes are possible, and up until recently these haven't been really able to be done because the options haven't been there. But not only have they added these two particular modes to the custom tab, so we can now edit them with the logic editor, they seem to have done it really well. Now a little while ago I was going to go through the vehicle tab and the vehicle modifiers and the changes that have happened to the vehicles in the logic editor, but I didn't really get the opportunity to do that because quite a few of the things were broken. Now I've not tested them again this morning, so I'm not going to run through in any great detail the things that are under the tab, so you know, create experiences or anything like that, but things are looking very promising now, and we may well be able to do all of the things that we wanted to do earlier. So as many of you know, if you select a different game mode, you're going to get some different options in the web builder part. So I'm going to select the air superiority section just so that I can show you some of the options that are now available in the web builder part for air superiority. So the options that are available for air superiority and ground superiority through the editor are very similar, if not the same. There is a big difference though, and I should point this out, that we now have objectives in air superiority and ground superiority mode. Yes, we do now have them with the logic editor available, and the difference is with the air superiority mode the objectives will be placed in the air and the maps will be slightly different, and with the ground superiority mode obviously the objectives will be placed on the ground and there will be a different selection of maps for that, but more on that later. So let's go and have a look at what these all look like now from inside here. So you can see that if we select air superiority, we're going to get a selection of different maps. So these maps or locations in these maps have been specifically chosen to support the air superiority mode. Let's just have a look, see if they change slightly when we select ground superiority. Yes, they do. So we've got different sections of the maps that have been set aside for ground superiority and air superiority. Good to know that they've given a little bit of thought to what maps we should use. I would have liked perhaps to see a little bit more variety there, but I do understand that this is early days and it's only just been introduced, but a good selection of little maps there. And let's be honest, we're interested in what's going on in the vehicles anyway. So we've moved down now to, actually we've got to add a map, so let's just add Battle of the Bulge. If we move down now to game mode details, that's exactly the same as it was before. So let's move on to modifiers. I think many of these are the same when I looked at them earlier on. Yeah, we've got mostly the same there. It is worth adding, and I've not mentioned this before, that this was always here, this on foot deployment. So on foot deployment allows you to deploy on foot. Basically you can spawn on foot. If you turn that off, players can now only spawn in vehicles. That's probably what you want if you want a vehicle only mode. So it's worth remembering, if you want a vehicle only mode, make sure you switch off on foot deployment and then they will have to spawn in a vehicle. So if we move over to the vehicle tab, Most of these options were here before. It is worth bearing in mind you can get your vehicles faster if you decrease the vehicle spawn delay. You can set that to 0 and you'll get your vehicles replaced much quicker if you want to. That's been there all along, I think. I can't remember it not being there. So we've also got the combat vehicle spawn type, and you can see there's a bunch of options under there. Just make sure that the option you choose here isn't at odds with the option that you chose for the soldier. If you've set it so that they can't spawn in on foot and then set the vehicles so they can only get in them on foot, that's going to cause problems with your game mode. It's just a little bit of an aside. Then we've got all the other standard kind of settings, and then they've added this one. So what this does is, if you set it to off, no one can now enter a vehicle in the passenger seats. I think it says that there are controls whether vehicles take passengers. All that means is that a vehicle can now, if you have it set to off, only have a driver. Now, that possibly seems counterproductive, and in some vehicles working together is important, and you might want to leave that on or turn it off. The choice is entirely up to you. But there has been a big change in the restrictions under vehicles, which, to be honest, has been mind-blowing to me. I think this is just absolutely fantastic. If we have a little look under the restrictions, I'm just going to skip there now and look under the vehicles. You can see that we can now alter the number of vehicles. We'll come back to this later on. And if we have the passenger seats set to off, you can see we can now have 52 vehicles. I can increase the number of vehicles and set this to 52 vehicles. I mean, that's just mind-blowing. You can have a brilliant, massive tank battle if you want to. So if we just go back to the modifiers and back into the vehicle, and if we switch the passenger seats back on, still just getting used to this, and then we go back into the restrictions and the vehicles editor, you can see now we can only have 48 vehicles. So that does have an impact. If you switch off the passenger seat so nobody can join as a passenger, you're gonna get more vehicles available. To be honest, 48's plenty, but if you wanted an additional 4 vehicles and you only wanted people to be able to sit in the driver's seat, you can do that now. Some brilliant control over vehicles in this update. I can't actually thank them enough. This is brilliant. So there's going to be some really interesting modes coming to do with this. Right, let's get back on track. Where were we? Passenger seats. Okay, right, moving on. Let's have a little look at the user interface. Let's see if there's been any changes there. None that I can see. And then we'll just have a quick pop under the AI section. And again, these are just the same as they were before, but we can prevent, of course, AI from exiting vehicles if we want to. We can also disable their on-foot deployment. That covers all of the modifiers. Let's have a little look under the restrictions and see what we've got there. So I'm just going to select the Battlefield 2042 option for both sides. The characters obviously now are listed as they were before, no change there. I can't imagine that there is. And the same for weapons. We've got the same options as we had before. I think they've obviously, hopefully, added the new weapons they have. There we go, so we can enable or disable the new crossbow, and the same for the ammo. It's when we get to vehicles that we get our little new interesting change as well. So under the vehicles tab, you can now see that we can alter the number of vehicles. I have to say, I just checked this briefly before I started doing this video, and it was this that prompted me to want to get this out straight away, because this is just, well, it's just brilliant. It looks like we're able to have up to 52 vehicles when the passengers are disabled in a game at any one time. So you can see all of the vehicles have started disabled, but if we want to just have a massive helicopter battle, let's say, or a plane battle, we'll go with helicopters. So let's just click there and let's put on let's have Nightbirds. So we're going to have, let's have a look, 10 Nightbirds. We'll add a few of these. We'll have some of those. You can see that it's counting up just at the top. So let's chuck in a few fighter planes as well. Now we can have 52. After that is 26. So we can have 26 vehicles on each side. Let's also chuck in a couple of those as well. I've got to scroll down a little bit. So there we go. So we got 26 vehicles on this side, and we can match that on the other side if we want to. So let's have, how many fighter planes did we put on there? Let's have 5 of those. Let's have, yep, we can do the same, 10. I suppose I could just type it in the box rather than laboriously clicking through like this. I have to say, this got me really excited earlier on when I looked at it. I couldn't believe it. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this. So that allows us to have 52 choppers or planes or whatever it is up in the air. And it does actually work the same with the ground support vehicles and the ground attack vehicles. I'm not going to go through that, but you get the idea. And then that's it. I mean, this is just brilliant, really. So I'm looking forward to seeing some mods that are going to give us a lot of fun with this coming soon, I think. And then I'm just going to move past that before I glow too much on that one. Click on the gadgets and you can see that that's just the same as it was before. And that just about covers all of the changes, I think, that have been made to the web part of it. But I really just wanted to get that first bit out there. That's amazing. The fact that we can add that many vehicles and have that kind of mod is just going to be brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what people are able to do with that going forward. Now, I am just going to briefly click on the rules editor, but as I say, I don't really want to go through anything in depth today. I think it will take me too long, but as you can see, I mean, the first thing we see is they've cleaned everything up. I mean, look at these icons are much nicer than before, and I did notice that there was a little other section under here for a little while. There was obviously an issue while they were fixing things. That's gone, so it looks like there's been quite a few things cleaned up. Now, I can tell you that since last looking at these blocks, there have been quite a few additions and changes, and in this update there's been, well, I would say a massive change. Something's been added that has really not blown my mind but made me think we could be heading in a really good direction here. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a quick scan through and point out the key things that I kind of spotted on my first glance through. So you can see, if we just have a look at the arrays at the top, there's nothing changed there, and neither has anything changed under the gameplay section, or as it happens, the logic section, or at least nothing that I've noted. But you might have noticed this new objective block. Right, so just recently I've been working on a domination mode, and I've been having to fudge the logic for objectives because obviously up until now we've had no control over them. And I don't think that we're quite there yet, but we are so close, because now the new mode, so the new air superiority mode, which isn't ideal because the objectives, I think, tend to be in the air, but the ground superiority mode now has objectives. So we have modes that have the logic editor available to them that also have ground-based objectives that we can enable or disable. Now, we can't do much else with them. We can just either have them enabled or have them disabled. We do have some other things that we can do with them, so we can, you know, get all of the capture points and details from them. Now, we can't do much else with them, and I'm not going to go into the details of how this works. I think I'll just save that for another video when I've got a little bit more time to go over it properly, and I've not really had that much chance this morning. Obviously, it's only just been released to go into any great detail in how this works properly, but I can see us headed in the right direction here. I think that this is really, really very good, and I'll be curious to see what they do when they add, hopefully, more maps to these, if they do intend to. Don't know whether they do or not, but that would be really, really cool. If we could get a few more maps on there, a few different options with objectives, well, then maybe we've got some really good possibilities. Now, I will say I've just been working on and finished a new domination mode, but the big problem with that is we have to define the logic for the objectives ourselves. Not only is that quite convoluted and quite difficult, it puts pressure on the server because the way that the code works isn't the best. It does give us some flexibility over the game mode objectives and where they're positioned, but if we have the option to put the logic editor and everything else into game modes that have control to some degree of the objectives, well, then we can probably make game modes like domination and other things much, much easier to create. I've got my video about my domination mode coming up. I've got a feeling it will probably be consigned to history at some points because these changes may well make those kind of modes significantly easier to create. Right, I'm just going to move away from this. We're not going to go into that any further. Let's have a look. Under the player, I think no changes there. Under the player options, no, there are not. If we look under the user interface, there are some additions in the user interface. These are to do with bug reporting. So we've got this one, send error reports. If we look there, it just says displays a provided message as an error in the admin menu. That's going to be beneficial if you are creating your own modes using the logic editor. You'll know yourself that some of the errors that you get through the admin panel aren't exactly useful. Well, that's going to be useful hopefully going forward. And then we've got the brand new, well, I say brand new to my videos, vehicle tab here. Look out for a video looking at the vehicle section in a lot more depth. Underneath we've got the arrays section, nothing new added there, you wouldn't expect there to be. In the event payloads, we do have new payloads to do with vehicles. Again, we will look at these later on in a new video, and we've also got this new event capture point block as well, which is obviously going to be useful for some of our modes. In the gameplay section, I've not looked at this in my later videos, we've not done this, but they did add the is current map. I've used that one in my new domination mode. This is useful if you want to know which map you're currently on. Under the logic section, nothing new added there. They did add an XOR block a little while ago. Under the maths, they added some new stuff under maths, which I'm not going to go through, I don't think, because for most of us, they're not going to be particularly useful. And then we've got the new objective tab just down here. Obviously these are to do with the new ability to get and compare objective points using the new vehicle superiority modes. Brilliant addition this, by the way. I think this is absolutely fantastic. Thanks very much. I can see myself using this quite a lot. Under the player tab, I think we've got have we got anything new under there? We don't have. There are some new additions to the player state lists and things like that. Nothing under there. New vehicle blocks here that we can use. Again, too much there to go through in this video. It really is just meant to be a brief overview. And then we've got the selection list, and there's been some new additions under some of the selection lists. So if we just have a look, I'll just drag that out. For example, under the player state, I think we've got some new additions in there. You can see we've got some new states that have been added since the last time I looked. And if we look just a little bit further down, we do have this vehicle types item option as well. Again, too much to go into for this video, but some great additions to the list here. Literals just the same, you wouldn't expect that to change. Variables just the same. Subroutines, I think, just the same. And then the control actions just the same. Right, okay. Hopefully that was a useful overview. The changes that they've made to the vehicles, I'm glad I waited on doing the video covering the vehicle tab, because I really didn't have any idea that all of this was coming, because the addition particularly to the logic editor of the vehicles section and the objectives tab, these are really great additions to logic editor, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do and what I can do with these additions. Right, that's it. That's my summary of the changes to Portal, the Portal editor for version 1.1. It really was a brief summary, even though it's been quite a long video. There was a lot in there. Hopefully that's been useful to you. Please do let me know in the comments what you think of these changes. There's been so many, from the icons to the additions to the web builder to the additional blocks that they've added. This is all looking good. It's great to see them continuing and committed to developing the Portal web builder and the experience editor. It's just brilliant. I'm really pleased this morning. Looking forward to seeing what I can do in the coming weeks. As always, if this has been useful to you, please do consider clicking the subscribe button and the like button on this video. I've got a bunch of stuff coming up. I've got my domination mode, which again I think is probably going to be consigned to history shortly, but it will be interesting. I put a lot of work into it over the last week or two to get that sorted. I've got the second part of my arrays video coming up soon, explaining how arrays work. I've got a bunch of other stuff planned as well, and of course an in-depth look at the vehicle tabs and the new, I think, objective tabs as well will include in there a bit of a tutorial on how to use those. For now, it's been great talking to you. Hopefully you've enjoyed the gameplay of me versus a bunch of AI and tanks in the background. For now, take care everyone, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ra.